Half-Life 3 is all but confirmed at this point. We have seen the breadcrumbs for quite a while now, but last night, Mike Shapiro, who describes himself as actor, singer, filmmaker, voice guy, and finally Gman Prime, posted this.
Another year already. Good to see and hear from so many of you. May the next quarter century deliver as many unexpected surprises as did the millenniums first. And again, time is fluid, like music. See you in the new year.
Now, you could just write this off as a guy using the thing that he's famous for in order to get some extra internet clout on New Year's, but that isn't really his MO. In fact, he's not even really active on social media at all. As far as I know, the last time that he posted to his Twitter account was 4 years ago with this.
Some congratulations are in order. But then here's a quandary to entertain. When is reality not virtual? Indeed. When indeed.
And that was when he was promoting Half-Life Alyx. Now, Half-Life Alyx had already been announced at this point, and Half-Life 3 has not been announced yet, but it doesn't seem to me like he's chasing clout. My guess is that he really doesn't care about social media all that much, but whenever Valve asks him to post something, he does. It's a great way to drive hype for something, only the last time he did it, Half-Life Alyx had already been announced, but it just wasn't out yet. Now, many of you have probably noticed this painting in the video. It's actually from Shapiro's song, Best Long Dog. I listened to it, definitely a weird song, but I didn't really hear anything that screamed Half-Life to me, other than the musical chord at the end of his teaser video seems to be from this song. Some over at the Half-Life subreddit noticed the numbers 197 in the windows of the house of this album art, and of course everyone is trying to figure out what it means. I personally don't really think that 197 means anything in the case of Half-Life, but some of my favorite theories are this one from Reddit user Polly that points out that 197 is a prime number, and so is 3, so therefore Half-Life 3 is confirmed. Then there's Indiana Jones 838, who points out that there are 3 windows fully visible in the picture. Again, Half-Life 3 confirmed. But my favorite theory is that gold has a bunch of different isotopes, and of all of the different isotopes of gold, only a few of them are stable, meaning that they're not radioactive. And one of those stable versions of gold is gold 197. So for those of you that slept through earth science class, I've got good news for you. My day job is I am an earth science teacher. So let me give you a very simple crash course explanation about what radioactivity is. It's actually way more complicated than this, but I want to keep it simple for this video. Every element has what are called isotopes, basically different varieties of the same element, kind of like different shades of the same color. Some of these isotopes are stable, and some of these isotopes are what we call radioactive. Radioactive means that an isotope will give off energy until it becomes stable. We call this process radioactive decay, and we can measure how quickly this happens, and we can use that information in order to figure out how long something's been around. And get this, the amount of time that it takes for half of a radioactive material to decay and become stable is called, wait for it, half-life. Pretty cool, huh? But it doesn't stop there, because going gold is also a very important term in the video game industry, or at least it used to be. You see, back in the day, when a game was going gold, basically that meant that they had the final product ready, and they were ready to start mass producing the discs for the game. They would make what they called a gold master disc, which was gold in color. So when a game was ready to make million copies of the disc, they called it going gold. So gold 197 is stable and ready to ship, and Half-Life 3 has gone gold. I will point out that this is my favorite theory because it's so conspiratorial, not because I actually believe it, but still, the fact that he used the hashtag Valve Half-Life, Gman, 2025 in his tweet, it means that something is coming this year. And I'm 80% sure that it's going to launch alongside Fremont, which, if you don't know, is Valve's rumored set-top box, essentially a Steam console that's been talked about extensively. I've got more information about that linked in the description down below that like button, so be sure to watch those videos if you haven't seen them yet. The theory that I give the least amount of credence to has to be that the 197 is the 197th day of the year, which would be Wednesday, July 16th. I don't think that Valve would tease a release date because they're smart enough to know that they might have to delay for something, maybe due to unforeseen consequences, hint, hint, something outside of their control. So July 16th being a release date, I highly doubt it. But back to 2020 and Half-Life Alyx, because back in March 2020, when he was promoting Half-Life Alyx, he was interviewed by Matthew Gault over at Vice, and they asked him this: are there lines for Gman that you've recorded that we haven't heard yet? To which he answered, how could the answer to that not be no? Which doesn't really make sense to me, because there's a double negative, which means that he's actually saying, how could the answer to that be yes? And that makes no sense, because I'm sure there are things that he recorded, lines that he recorded for Gman or for Barney that, you know, didn't actually make it into the game. But his answer makes it seem like that isn't the case. It could just be that it was off the cuff and the double negative was unintentional. Gault followed up with this: look, it's a requisite. I have to ask you about Half-Life 3, and Gault he's right. He has to ask, even though he's not likely to get an answer out of Mike. But here's what Mike did say: there is a long story here. There's a long game that G-Man is playing. I'll say that. End quote. And that's the end of the interview. So I don't know if that means that they were already working on it back then in 2020, but I assume that they were, because it takes games a really long time to get made, and it's not outside the realm of possibility. In fact, it makes a lot of sense that they were working on this back then and it's only ready now. But let's go back to what he said in the teaser. Another year already. Good to see and hear from so many of you. May the next quarter century deliver as many unexpected surprises as did the millennium's first. And again, time is fluid like music. See you in the new year. And then there's like this guitar chord in the end. All right.
Another year already.
Could be a nod to the fact that we've been waiting for Half-Life 3 for an eternity. Though we often joke about Valve time. I think that perhaps the G-Man lives in Valve time as well. Hell, Shapiro even talked about this a little bit in a recent documentary about Half-Life 2, which released along the 20th anniversary.
There were also aspects to him that I knew pretty early on, like his relationship to time is very different than you or I would think. In my mind, he could literally be in two places at once, and so sometimes there was a kind of an implied hitch in his timing, or he's experiencing 2 or 3 different moments at once, and that might be funny for a reason that you don't know because you're only in one time with him at a moment.
The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world.
May the next quarter century deliver as many unexpected surprises as did the millennium's first.
The word unexpected in there is very interesting, as one of the very early chapters in Half-Life 1 is called Unforeseen Consequences. I know that the word isn't the same, but the meaning is really close, and so I really think that is a clue. Then we have this line.
And again, time is fluid, like music.
And then he uses an image from his music in the tease. Plus, the underpinned music is in the teasing video as well. It kind of sounds like the song The Long Dog. We also recently saw rumors that HLX, which is what everyone is assuming is Half-Life 3, or is at least a code name for Half-Life 3, was done with internal testing and moving on to friends and family testing. Now, I have to admit, unfortunately, I'm not friends or family with anyone at Valve, so I don't know if that's true, but we've seen countless references to Half-Life stuff leaked by data miners recently. And if Valve is really shipping their own Steam console codenamed Fremont later on this year, what better way to have it absolutely fly off the shelves but then by making it a pack-in? Buy this thing, get Half-Life 3 for free. Note that I'm saying it's a pack-in, not an exclusive, because Valve, kind of like Microsoft, seems to understand that it's better to sell their games to as many people as possible, and that means you got to be in as many places as possible. Something, you know, Valve and Microsoft seem to have in common, and very much unlike both Nintendo and Sony, but that all of that is well outside the realm of this video. We also saw last year a voice actor had in their online portfolio something called Project White Sands, and that it was produced by Valve. Now, since that leak had come out, all of that information had been removed from their portfolio, but it is, again, very interesting stuff. All I know is that I've recently been going back and replaying Valve's games. Over Christmas break, I sat down with my daughter while she played through Portal 1 for the first time, and after she left, I had to fire up Portal 2 and pick up on my original playthrough where I left off years ago, and I ended up finishing the game. I also recently tried to replay Half-Life 2, but I got severe motion sickness. Someone suggested, I ended up uninstalling it, and then somebody suggested in the comments of the video where I had mentioned that I crank up the FOV slider in order to help with that. So I have reinstalled it, and I am going to give it another go, because no one makes games like Valve. And if Half-Life 3 really is coming out, then I want to re-experience Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, and Half-Life 2 Episode 2, so I can be completely caught up on the story when Half-Life 3 comes out. And of course, I also need to play Half-Life Alyx, which is something I've been sitting on for way too long. I've owned it, but I haven't had a VR headset to use it with. But over here behind me, you might be able to see my son's VR headset, which I'm going to try hooking up to my computer after I've finished all of Half-Life 2 and the episodes, and then Half-Life Alyx is next on the list. There's no denying that Half-Life is one of the greatest games of all time. And then Valve took everything that made Half-Life 1 great with Half-Life 2 and cranked it up to 11. We saw some amazing things in that documentary about, you know, the 20-year anniversary of Half-Life 2 and what Valve had plans for Half-Life 2 Episode 3 with the ice gun. So I don't know about you, but I am very excited to put on my HEV suit again. But what do you all think? Are we going to be getting Half-Life this year in 2025? Is it going to ship with Fremont? What is Valve up to? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below that like button. And of course, if it's your first time here, please subscribe. From the Nerd Nest, I'm Bill. Stay rad, and thanks for watching. And finally, before you go, check out this video right here. YouTube seems to think it's going to be perfect for you. Happy New Year. I hope to see you on the next one. Take it easy.